Hi, my name is Terry Lee, and this is part 3 of our project to make process in making this portfolio. It opens like this, and like this, and like this. And if you want to see more about it, you can catch all the details in part 1. Okay? So now today we get to play with paper. Yay! Alright, so we had talked about before that to use a digital kit is the easiest way to go. Sometimes they're called DigiKits, and I had originally said that I was going to use a kit called Library, and then I decided, or I bought this one, and I thought, ooh, this would be so cool in this. So I have changed my mind, as I have every right to do, as long as it's not halfway through the project. Oh wait, it is halfway through the project, but it didn't matter up to this point. Alright, so this kit is called Deco, because it's Art Deco, and you can get this on Etsy, and the person selling it, the creator, is JaneybJournals, and her Etsy shop is called JaneybJournals, and it's just the letter B, so let me spell it, Janeyb Journals, Journals, all one word, on Etsy. Okay, and if I remember, I will put a link below this video in the when you click more, all the stuff that shows up. Okay, so but I just really like it, and so I decided to use it. It was like bright and colorful and very cool, and so I changed it. Now, the kit that you pick is going to have at least 8 full-size pages, and by that I mean not ones that are marked in the middle to be folded to make 2 pages, because that's just not going to look right. Now, this particular kit, and you also are going to want to have some full-size background pages, and by background pages I mean like this, that don't have anything on them, that are meant to be backgrounds for you to decorate on, which is exactly what we're going to do, and I'll show you that in a minute. But since this project uses 8 by 8 squares, then it doesn't matter if your pattern is vertical or horizontal, because you have enough room with the 8 1/8. Once you, let me say this, once you trim the white edges off the paper, it comes out to 8 1/8 by 10 5/8. So you have room either way to do an 8 by 8. Okay, I decided to do mine this way. Alright, let's see, who's number 8? Number 1 and number 8. Okay, lady number 8 is this lady right here. And actually, no, that's right, I have been having a time with this like you would not believe. Let me look. Yes, that is correct. And I wanted to use a lady that was on the other side, so I must have gotten some of the pages turned around, and I'll tell you why, because there's only 4 ladies. Alright, so I'm going to be using 3 of the background pictures. So let me show you where I'm at so far, you know, before I got confused. Now, and we're going to go over cutting these out, so don't worry. So this is my cover. Alright, this is the back, which is a full background, but I picked the way that I wanted it to come out. And what I mean by that is I picked my favorite part of the page, and I cut it so that that part of the page is the part that's going to be used, and the rest of it is the part that I cut off. Okay, so then I've got this lovely lady, and obviously on these pages it was pretty easy. I just cut the part I needed that has the lady on it. Alright, so then it's going to open like this, and there's going to be a nice lady right here, and then there's a nice lady right there. And then it's going to open like this, right? And there's a lady here. And then like this, and there's going to be a lady here. And then in the middle, I think I'm getting ahead of myself. You know, these are my notes for this video. So, we're going to have fun. Alright, select a few blank pages, da-da-da. Select which pictures for which page. See? Show how to decide which part. I'm right on the ball. Okay, sorry about that. So then, you want to pick, like I said, which ones, and for each page. And when you've decided, then, and once you start cutting your pages, then you're going to want to save your extra pieces. And it doesn't matter, let me see if I can find them because they're awful tiny. And it doesn't matter if they're this small. Even these little ones, if they have print on them, save them, and I'll show you why. This is a project that I did, and we're going to have a video. You and me, we're going to have a video on how to do this in the future. But what I was going to say is that I need to re-glue that. But this is just a collage. So this is a collage that I made out of end pieces that I had saved, which are here. So you'll see I took a medium-sized page, and then a bigger page, and then a couple of these little thin strips, and I made a tag out of it. So we can do the same thing here, or not. And then because this comes with a lot of ephemera, and this I kind of made this up as I went. Oh, I see what happened. See, it's catching on there, so definitely going to have to think about that a little bit, huh? Alright. Oh, and there's my note that talks about what kit I used, because I keep forgetting, and so I have to add notes. Anyway, that's that project, but I just wanted to show you that that tab, or tag, whichever you want to call it, a tag. Okay, so now save your scraps. Okay, now show the matching pattern in the middle. That's exactly where I was going, and I thought I was ahead of myself. Okay, so now this is what I'm going to put in the middle. So there's going to be a lady over here, Art Deco craziness in the middle, and a lady over here. And you'll notice, of course, that this matches the background in the pictures. And what I'm going to do is, I could use it this way, right, and just cut the edges off to make it fit. But then look what happens. Even though it's not going to meet in the middle, remember we have a bit of a gap so it can fold. We'll talk about that when we talk about cutting the pages. That's why you're not cutting anything out yet, even though I know you're thinking, okay, she said 8 by 8 and 8 pages and blah blah blah. I have a lot of blah blah blah. Anyway, I'm going to use them this way, and the reason is, if I do it this way, I can match the pattern up. You see how that works? And it doesn't matter that I have to scooch the paper down a little bit to do it, but I can pretty much match the pattern up. Alright, and it's going to look matched because they're going to be apart a little bit. So if it's just a little bit different, which it actually is right here, then nobody's going to notice. They're going to think, wow, look what she did. And it is going to be, wow, look what I did, because that's going to take a little bit of measuring. And in fact, it's kind of making my eyes cross to look at it. But the reason that we're doing these 2 blank pages in the middle, or not blank, but you know what I mean, there's only so much room to decorate on here, is so that we can put ephemera and, I don't know, a notepad or something in the middle. Alright, like I said, remember you wanted to decide what you were going to use it for, because if you're just going to make it a card, then you might not want to worry about making a little notepad to put inside of it or whatever. However, if you're going to use it to add a lot of ephemera and places to put notes, remember we're making all these pockets, then you might want to think about the reason that you're putting what you're putting where, and that's why we're discussing paper. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do there. It's something to think about that maybe you could do on yours. All right, I covered my list. That is bad. That is bad with this project. I know it seems like I'm explaining and over-explaining. Oh, and I'd like to acknowledge at this point that yes, this is upside down to you. The only way I have to set up my camera right now is to set the camera up facing me. So if it wasn't this particular project, I would be doing it upside down, believe it or not. But as you can see, it's already kind of crazy as it is. And so I'm sure that you'll be doing yours straight up. And so looking at it upside down and doing it upside down are two completely different things. Okay, so matching our date. Okay, now I'm gonna show you how to cut these to size. Now, you know for sure they're gonna be 8 inches tall. Okay, so that's a given. However, in order for them to be 8 inches wide, we have to make sure that from where it folds, right, to where the edge is 8 inches. Now, in this particular case, it's going to be. Now, that also means you can't put too thick of ephemera in the middle. Otherwise, we would have had to have moved this over farther so that we could make a gusset, which is a fold that's thicker that looks like a book. Now, the way I glued this, I actually could if I wanted to, because remember we have pockets right here. So that's something I'm going to think about, depending on how you glued yours. If you turned the folder around the right way, because this one really should have been that way if I was going to do it, because the gusset lines are on this side. You would want them to be on this side. Let me look. I did the same thing on this side too, so I wasn't thinking ahead. So apparently I am not going to have anything very thick in the middle, and apparently you're not either, because I did not tell you in the last video when we constructed it to do that as well. So ours is going to be more decorative, and so when we go to cut the pages, all we want to take into account is that it is going to actually be 8 by 8, because we're not going to need to move this over to take into account for an extra wide fold. If we were going to move them over, then we would want to take that into account. Now, we also have to think about how close the inside papers are going to butt up against each other. Now here it's not going to be a problem. Over here we don't want the pages to catch each other and to wrinkle right here. So what I'm suggesting is that even though we know this is 8 inches wide, what I would do is leave 1/8 of an inch on each panel. So make them 7 7/8 inch wide, so that way you've got some space, you've got some maneuvering room, so that when you attach the pages, the papers to the pages, that they are not too close together. Now, I'm pretty sure I didn't think of that when I did this one, but I think I actually cut it out a little crooked and had to adjust, and so I do have enough folding room on that one. So I'm going to measure this one. Yeah, it's 7 7/8. See there? These are going to be 8 by 8. Let's write this on here. 8 by 8. Oh, and the numbers that we put on here, when you decide which picture you want where, then put the number on the back of your picture. That way when you take them all off, again, to do all this stuff, all the measuring, then, and this is going to be 7 7/8, and this one is going to be 7 7/8. So then you won't forget which one you wanted where, okay? And now you're also going to lay each page down on the panel it's going to go on, before you cut it. And the reason you're going to do that, even though you now know that this is going to be 8 by 7 7/8, but let's talk about this one. 8 by 7 7/8. So, but let's look at this one a little bit. Number 1. Okay, so we want to use this part of the picture, and we want this page, we want it to be this way, and we want to use this half of it. Okay, so what you want to do is kind of slide your paper clip up. Do I have anybody? No, I don't have anybody clipped on the other side. I'm glad you enjoyed my hair right there. And so we are going to go over a little bit so that we know we've got our gap. Now I'm just eyeballing 1/8 of an inch. You can measure if you want. And then I'm going to go over here to the edge of the paper, and I'm going to draw a line on our paper so I know where to cut it. Nowhere in this procedure have I used a ruler. The reason is that it's easier to make the line in the right spot when you've got the paper down and you're holding it on there in this particular project. Okay? Not necessarily in all projects. So now once we've got our line on there, and it's probably really hard for you to see that because it's on all those little dots, but once we've got our line on there, then we're going to get our paper cutter or trimmer or whichever you want to call it. Loose paper clip must go back in the container. It must. Then the easiest way is to put the mark closest to the cutter, and you want to make sure your paper is straight, and you put your mark right on the groove, or on this particular cutter there's a wire in the middle, which is great. I'm not sure in this series, I'm pretty sure I did it in the video before, but when I was going over the materials, I'm not sure I mentioned that this is a Fiskars. I know for sure the link is below this video. So I really like this one. It's the best $23 I think that I ever spent. Now, do you see what I'm doing with my scrap? Am I throwing it anywhere in a bad place? No, I'm putting it straight over into the pile of scraps. Alright, so now let's check and see if we've totally messed up and have to cut it all over again. Why, no. No, we have not. So when we line it up here, we line it up there, then it's going to be in the right spot, and we still just have to trim that 1/8 of an inch off the bottom. Alright, so then we're going to turn it this way, because this is the dimension that we want to be 8 inches. We're going to open this out. Ah, did you even know that was there? Hold it out to 8 inches. Make sure the blade is not on the paper until we want it to be. Hold it out to 8 inches. Make sure it's straight. 8 inches. We're going to cut that little sliver off the bottom. And what are we going to do with this little skinny piece of paper? Is it printed or is it white? It's printed, so we're going to keep it. I know I keep saying this over and over, but I like to repeat myself, hopefully not ad nauseum, but I want to make sure that you understand why I'm saying what I'm saying, because it will come in handy when you're starting to think, well, I don't have the right pocket or the right tag or whatever for what size pocket I want to put there. So now this lovely lady, then you'll have something you can make. I'm going to put this lovely lady right there. And we've got this lovely lady over here because I've already cut her. And I've already cut her. And I've already cut that. Okay. So now the eye bender, as I affectionately have decided to call it. Now there's paper clips there holding the other ones on. However, because this one is the way it is, I am going to remove these paper clips because I numbered my papers But don't tell anybody I took the paper clips out. My reputation for paper clips precedes me, and I do not want to ruin my my paperclip lady reputation. Okay, so now we know the gap is already built in here if you look at the edge of your manila folder, because we left that gap when we glued it in. So you can go right up to the edge of the line here as far as cutting the paper. Now once you put this in, you're going to have to cut a little bit off of here, remember 1/8, and then, now my dog's decided to bark at something invisible, and so we're going to put this in, and if you'll excuse me for just 1 second. Get away from the door. Okay, I'm back. Anyway, yes, my dog's name is Oz. And so we're going to line this up, and we've got all this extra space here, right at the top and the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up these points. I can see them even though they're not going to be exactly together, but I can line it up like this. And then what am I going to do? Am I going to get a ruler out? Why, no, I am not. I'm going to put this here, I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to hold it with my hand, and I'm going to look around feverishly for my pencil. There it is. And I'm going to mark this one here, and here, and I'm going to mark this one here, and I'm going to mark this one here. Alright? And then I'm going to cut them to size, and then I'll be ready to put them on. I'm not going to bore you with watching me cut paper again. Alright? So now we've got our papers ready to go. Okay, let me make sure. Cutting to size. Okay, now at this point, let me paper clip these back on. See, you knew I couldn't leave them off very long. There's a reason. Okay. Well, apparently, oh, that worked. Okay. I have to keep you have to understand I'm standing up. So, I keep forgetting that when I bend over, you can see my hair when it swings forward. Alright. So, what we're going to do now, we need to have them paper clipped, because I haven't cut this one yet. We need to have them on because now we're going to mark them for the thumb holes and for where the pockets are going to be. Okay? Now you have two choices. You can just mark this like with an X, and this with an X, and then you know which side goes towards which is not a bad idea. As long as you're not going to see. Now remember, when you have a thumb pull or a pocket, that means you're going to be able to see in a little bit. So before you write anything, make sure that you write it down far enough. Now, yes, I put this up too far, but I did it before I thought about it, and I did it on the other side as well. So we're going to mark where those go by marking the upside, because when we glue it on, now this particular one is our double pocket, so we're only going to glue 3 sides. So let's just put on here, we're not going to glue that side, so we're going to put a G and a G and a G, and those are the 3 sides we're going to glue, and then we'll make our thumb hole all at the same time when we've got all 3 on there. So then you're going to flip it over. Let's do this side, because I have pictures on both sides. Now on this side, we actually don't have anything. How is it we don't have anything on this? Oh, because the pockets are on the other side. This side just opens. You know, I kind of want to make one pocket. Let's do it on the other side. I'm thinking a top pocket. Change in plan, change in plan. Pocket. This way. So then it's going to need a thumb pull. Because we're not cutting any of the pages down. So, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, you know what? I'm not going to change my plan other than adding a pocket to the one side. Not both sides, just this side. Because that way when you open it, from being closed, you open it, there'll be a top pull pocket here. Okay? Alright. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to mark this. So then we're going to put a G and a G and a G. So we know where to put the glue. Then on this side, which is the back, remember that since we have the pocket on the end, we're just not making this a double one this way, we're making a top pocket this way. Actually, I think that's why I was going to glue all four sides on there, because I had the pocket. So I want to think about that before I do it, now that I realize. Alright, so there's going to be a pocket, right? See? And then I had this a different way, because I had it on the opposite side. Alright. Actually, that's wrong, because I want... This one is an 8x8, so I can flip it around. I'm just trying to decide. I thought I wanted the circles on the top, but I think this is alright like this. I kind of like it like that. What do you guys think? Yeah, I think so. Had that labeled as the top before when it was on the other side. Oh, right, when it was on the other side. Well, that's alright. Let's just keep it the top. I don't want to get confused. Are you confused? So the pocket's going to be on this side. See? So then let's write glue, glue, glue. Okay. You know, that's the third time, one for each video, that my phone has done that. Okay. Okay. And the glue notes. I've got it. Yay. Make notations. Okay. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to talk about the areas that are not covered by your paper, because as you can see, there's quite a few. You've got these middle parts, right? The middle. In between our really cool Deco pattern, which might even be something different than we do other places. But you're going to want to, I'm going to sit down for this one. You're going to have to do something. So I would suggest a color of some kind. The only other thing that, the first thing I'm going to suggest actually isn't a color, because white is the absence of all color. But you can use gesso and paint with a paintbrush on here. And don't do very much, because this is not very thick paper. Manila folders are not very heavy-duty paper, and it will wrinkle your paper. But you do need 2 coats of this liquid acrylic gesso. Now, if you want to use heavy gesso, then you could do it only once. It comes in a jar, and it's heavy. This is super heavy gesso, which is actually almost more for using a palette knife. And if you're not an acrylic painter or multimedia artist, you may not know what that is, and that's beyond the purview of this video. But I'm just saying, you could use gesso to make it white. If you're not into white, you'll notice you'll hear my voice turn away because I have props. Then you could go something like one of these. These are both colored pencils, but these are called, these are soft core colored pencils, and they have wax in them like a crayon. Okay? These are also colored pencils, but they're colored pencils in the traditional sense of a hard lead in them, and these are soft. So when you go to look for them, and they color differently, even though I forgot to bring it back here, but you can buy a blender pencil, which is just a pencil with no color in it. It's the same as whatever is in here. This is wax, and this is, oh, these are oil, now that I remember, because I smell them. They're oil. But anyway, they make a pencil that's the same as whatever this is made out of, but it has no color. And so when you color over it, it blends it so you don't see lines like you do when a little kid colors and there's lines. So you can make a colored pencil of some kind look really, really nice. So we've got the gesso, we've got acrylic paint. You could put color, you know, acrylic paint on here with a paintbrush. Once again, I caution you with the how much liquid you put on here, because it will warp it. I don't know why I did this little wave thing, because I'm sure you know what the word warp means. You can also use ink and an ink dauber. Most people's look like this, but obviously this is not the same colors these two. These two are new, and I don't have daubers for them yet, so I'm using my little kid sponges. Anyway, you can use an ink on here and just kind of smear it along with your dauber, and use these two colors. I just happened to get them. They didn't have anything to do with this. This just happened to print out in these colors. So it just happened to be a really good deal. These are Tim Holtz by Ranger, and the link for, not these, oh yes, these specific, I can never say that word, Pacific colors are in the links in the text file below this video. Alright, so now I think, where was it? It was under the, oh, it was under the cover. I did a little test run to see what it would look like. Now, you're not going to leave it like that. I'm just saying, I just smeared some color on there to see. So here we have the blue, and a lot of the blues go together well, as in it doesn't need to be an exact match. Now, this is a salmon, mauve, kind of a mix of colors, and this is fired brick. Now, if you look at those two together, I'm not really sure I want them together. So these are the kind of things you're going to want to think about when you're looking at it. So this blue matches with any of those blues. There's a little bit of that blue in those lines. This blue matches with this blue. I mean, it wouldn't look bad, is what I'm saying. Maybe that's not the criteria that you want to use. So anyway, I'm just saying you want to think about it, and these are some options that you have to use to color. You can just leave the manila folder viewable if you want. It doesn't matter. And you want to make sure also that when you're coloring, if you're coloring, that you do something down inside here, because you're going to see it. Now, just a little bit of the ways in. Now, I realize at this point that you're thinking, well, dummy, you shouldn't have glued it first. You should have colored it first. Yes, you are correct. However, you, dear viewer, can fix that mistake, because you're going to watch this first and then do it. I know you are, because it's what I do when I watch YouTube videos, tutorials. Okay? So keep that in mind. Keep all of those things in mind. Okay? So now, I think edges, inside pockets, different mediums, blah, 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 colors, complementary, contrast. We did all that. Okay, so this is running a little long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lump the gluing of the pages in with the discussion of the ephemera. And then on the last video, we will have a flip through and discuss why I did what I did with the ephemera. But we're going to talk enough about the ephemera. You'll be able to decide for yourself what you want to do with your particular kit and your particular ephemera. Okay, so that's it for this video, and this is Terry signing out, and I'll see you in the next video, and that's going to be a second for you and a day for me. Okay, bye bye.